Hey. Hey. How y'all doing? You don't know this, but I actually haven't gotten on and filmed anything on here in months. But a central theme of my channel is struggling deeply with maintaining order in my life, which is a fool's errand, really, because what is humanity if not disordered? But last you saw from me in these oversharing vlogs was whiteboard. Has that been working? Hell yeah, it has. I really enjoy putting 3 things on every day and crossing them off at the end of the day. Probably 6 out of 7 days, I get 3 things done, and that feels great. Doing less, moving slower, etc., etc. However, there is still disorder left untended, mostly my depression sink. Not pictured here, because the last 48 hours, I have decided to treat myself like my roommate. I don't have a roommate. I live alone. But you know when you have a roommate, at least I do this when I have roommates, is I don't want to leave anything in the kitchen sink overnight. You know, like, I don't want to be that girl. I want to clean up my mess and not cause imposition to somebody else. I don't know if that's people pleasing. I don't know if that's just compassion and cooperation. I don't know, you tell me. But I don't treat myself as well as I would treat a roommate. Like, I'm kind of a bad roommate to myself at times where I'll leave things a mess. I'll leave the kitchen a mess. And that's fine if that's fine to you, you know? It's fine when it's fine. Like, if you're hearing that, you're like, oh, my kitchen's a mess, but you weren't feeling bad about it until I just said that. It's fine because it's fine. But for some of us, we know it's an issue, but we just do not have the capacity, the faculties to correct it. And I think now I'm just gonna, what would I do as a roommate myself out of this situation? Like, I usually wait until there's like a substantial amount of dishes in the sink because I'm just like, it makes sense to do it all at once for some reason, like package it all together. Which, don't know if you know this, psychologically you are supposed to clump losses and separate gains. This is something I learned in a behavioral science class in college, which, okay, I did have a conversation, departing a little bit. I did have a conversation with my friend last week about how she doesn't feel like there's anything she got from her computer science degree that she like uses in her real life. Like, that she thinks about day to day, week to week, month to month, like beyond how it applies to her job kind of thing, like just in her own worldview, like nothing really like latched on. And I was like, damn, because I think compared to some of my liberal arts peers, like people that did coursework where they actually like read and had discussions and like dialectically analyzed media, like all of that stuff, I think has a lot more staying power than like an accounting class or a finance class or an operations class. Like, I didn't take anything away from, I took like one thing away from my finance class, but those other classes, not a single thing. But I do feel like there's a handful of classes at USC that like stay with me. So my college education was not all for naught. We have to convince ourselves of those things. Anyway, my behavioral science class I took through the business school, one thing I learned is that you really are supposed to separate your gains. So you want to spread out good news. Like, if someone has good news for you, you want them to tell you a little tiny bit every day. You don't want them to dump it all on you at once. But if they have bad news for you, give it all at once. Get it over with. Give it all at once. Like, that's just the way our brains like they use it with money. Like, if you're gonna lose $5, it feels better just to lose the $5, drop the $5 bill and not see it again, realize you lost it, than to lose $1 and then a few hours later you lose another $1, and then a few hours later you're like, where'd that other $1 go? And then by the end of the day you're like, I lost 5 individual dollar bills. Like, what kind of loser am I? Like, that is a problem for your ego. It's ego driven, of course. But it feels much better, conversely, to find 5 individual $1 bills and to find one $5 bill. And you might have some counter argument. I don't want to hear it because this is science. But why did I even talk about that? That I was trying to clump my losses by doing all of my dishes once the sink piled up. I think this might be one case where it's better to separate the losses and just do like this, like, you see how there's like, 4, 5, 6 dishes in here and like a little bit of silverware. Ordinarily that like almost pisses me off to do that amount of dishes because I'm just like, I'm barely even getting into it. I really want to get into it, put my little apron on and really go to town. But I think for my own sanity and executive function, I need to start actually separating those events as any dutiful and good roommate would do. Like, I need to pretend I have an imaginary roommate, a ghost roommate, somebody I would treat better than I treat myself. There's 2 paths forward to this. I could just directly treat myself better, or I could treat a surrogate imaginary person better and value their well-being more than mine. The solution, the choice there seems easy. So, little breakthrough. Let me report back in a few weeks' time, just like I did with the whiteboard, and see if that actually holds up. Because sometimes I get a little bit intimidated when people share like new strategies they're using in their life, and I'm like, damn, they just have all their shit together. And then turns out that was something they tried for like 3 days and then dropped it altogether. But they never tell you that you dropped it. So you're just holding this impression this whole time that this person was like really committed. I will let you all know. Like, I will, if that actually holds up. This is going to be harder than the whiteboard technique, I do believe. Anyway, back to editing my little videos. Hey, look at us in my kitchen again. So get a look at that. Roommate of the Year award. Now, I'm just here to update you on the strategy. And you know what? Twofold. Part of the effectiveness of the strategy has been that I told you all about it. And now I feel like I need to uphold this new strategy. So if you broadcast, hey, I have this new philosophy for how I'm going to live my life, it's honestly boring that accountability works so well. Like, it's just boring. Like, it's getting boring at this point. Like, so that's what the second of the twofold strategies has been, is there's actually this service that you can get where you can, if you have like a Nest camera, it's similar to that system. So it's like you put a little camera in your kitchen and then it's just kind of like streaming ambiently whenever there's movement in the kitchen. Then it'll upload it to this service where basically like a personal assistant type person is surveying the footage. And if you don't do what you've told them you want to do, they will send you like a memo in the morning. I'm kidding. I'm getting a little bit scared, you guys, because I'm a little like too good at bullshitting. I'm a little too good at lying. There was a certain video that I uploaded about a certain something in which I carried out an elaborate bit and people didn't quite realize it was a bit. This is also a bit. There's no such service, but I was thinking about it and I was like, if there were some sort of like surveillance technology to get me to do what I want to do, sign me up. Sign me up. Well, they could call it surveillance state for good, you know? They could call it robo-roommate. Robo-roommate. You just have a surrogate roommate via AI, because at this point, we've gotten to a state of late capitalism where we're no longer living in community, no longer with living other people. We might as well allow the robots to take over reparenting ourselves and companionship. And then taking it one step further, what if the robot were your favorite parasocial creator and you really respected them, and so hearing their voice and hearing them say it like made you want to follow suit because you admire them so much? That might work on me. Like if Paige Wassel were like, girl, do your dishes, I'd be like, I'm getting them done. And then, wait, guys. And then the top 10 people to actually do their dishes would get to meet Paige Wassel. And then this would be the new influencer economy. This is how creators would get paid after TikTok collapses. I think I've solved it. So I don't think I've done a great job at updating you on how the system's actually working, but it's going pretty well that every single time I look at my kitchen before I go to bed, I go, ooh. Oh, the other one was a TikTok I saw where it was like waking up in the morning, like, who closed last night? But it's your own house and your own kitchen. I want to be a good closing shift girly. Like I'm very dependable. I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting to a point on people pleasing where I'm like, how much of that is just social cooperation? Like when I was at my retail job, doing a good job closing wasn't so I could be a good employee. It was literally for the good of my fellow worker. And so that's what I want to feel like here. I am my own fellow roommate. So I want to be good at the closing shift because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and be like, now what in the world? So there is some psychobabble for you. Okay, actually, editor's note, not so much psychobabble because these technocratic dystopian influencer economy spoofs are living in the real world. Like I literally saw on Twitter this week, there is an influencer who trained an AI chatbot on thousands of hours of her videos. It's voice, so like you can talk to her and it's like $1, what was it? $1 a minute for access, and she made $72,000 in the first week. So I'm joking about it. She's making it a reality. This editor's note is turning into its own clip because now I'm thinking further through this and I'm like, either men need to be more hospitable to women so that those of us that are attracted to them actually want to be in relationships with them, or we need to or the ones that don't want to do that self-improvement work, take them off the market and put them in the influencer economy. I don't know. You like really don't need to mind my hair. I know it's volume that some people are praying and wishing for, but we don't need to talk about it. I was just doing the opening shift of my apartment, which is, airing out the house, washing my face, brushing my teeth, taking my meds, making breakfast, all that. And unloading the dish rack is making its way into the opening shift. But I just had a thought because I've been talking about being more compassionate and respectful towards my own space and myself. And I'm using the terminology of like opening shift, closing shift, like, is the only way I can take this work seriously. I don't know why my apartment is on a bus route. I just don't know. A truck route? Like, why? I don't know. Is the only way I can get myself to take this seriously by using the same conventions as a workplace, as being an employee? If so, like, that's kind of sad. I just hate to romanticize an opening shift. I really do. So I'm just going to leave that there and say that I don't like the analogy, but it has been effective because we have been socialized to view ourselves as machines and as laborers. And also, it's caveat hour, I guess. What time is it? 10:45 is caveat hour, if you didn't know. Happy caveat hour. The final thing I wanted to say during Caveat Hour is that this isn't about being militant and being like, you're bad because you let your dishes pile up. It's more so just that I'm like, it would be more harmonious and I would live more well if I didn't do that, because it does make me suffer every day when I look at it. So it's about finding the balance between treating yourself with dignity that you would treat a roommate. That's what it's about. You wouldn't be like, maybe some of you are militant towards your roommates, but it's about treating yourself like you would treat others if you're the kind of person that treats others well. Okay, I will say, several weeks down the line, now that I've stopped filming the sink for that little montage, I do find that it's filling up a little bit more. Like I do find that. So in a way, making a little art project out of the mundanities of life can improve your relationship to them. Just making a little art project. So stay tuned for my year of kitchen sink montage dropping in May of 2024.